Alright, gather round, children, because I'm going to tell you the story about Sonic 06.
Nick.
What? What?
Why am I doing this? Why are we doing this?
Okay, look. We barely talked about... We didn't even talk about Sonic 06 in our little...
We overlooked it
Sonic
on purpose, because... Like, alright, you know what, okay... I reviewed it twice alone, but you know what? I didn't get it right either time. I don't think I can stress enough the problems with this game. It's not even a. It's not. I shudder to refer to it as a beta. This is like an alpha. This was nowhere close. It was close to being finished.
We have to let the people know. Even though the game's already been out for like 5 fucking years now, and Sega's pulling it off the shelves as we speak, the people have to know how bad this game is.
I guess. I already recorded the footage anyway, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Which means I played through the game again, didn't I?
I mean, we could do this, or we could just, oh, look at here in my game collection. Oh, Over G Fighters. Maybe we could review that.
So we're gonna review Sonic 06 now.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, alright. I'm gonna try to structure my comments as quickly as possible and not try to take up everyone's time. But there's a lot to talk about, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to start. Like, I want to start with the story, but there's no way I'm covering all that before everything else. I guess the one thing I really want to mention is just how much the game tricked, like, everyone who saw anything prior to the actual product. The first trailer is basically just the first cutscene of the game, with a couple, like, gameplay shots mixed in there.
And it actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, the one thing they did right, and I know, one of the few things they did right with the game is that the cinematics look really good, and by that I mean only some of the cinematics, because there's a few others, like in the middle of the game, that look way worse than the opening one, for reasons I fail to understand. But you could see that they were doing what Sega honestly does best. They're really good at cinematic openings, and cutscenes in general. Like, say what you want about Shadow the Hedgehog, its cinematics look fucking awesome. But good cinematics doesn't equal good gameplay, or good graphics in-game. One of the things a lot of reviewers like to say is that the graphics of the game overall are pretty good. In-game, they're really not. And it's not so much the models are bad, like the character models and whatnot, it's more the animations. The animation in this game is beyond the fabric of lazy when it comes to any in-game cutscenes. Right after the opening cutscene, we get treated to this. Sonic's running along, and it doesn't flow right. Everything looks clunky. They weren't trying to make these characters flow realistically, and okay, and I know
pretty bad.
And I know we're going to somewhere that I don't want to go to right now, but I really got to mention now that since we're on this opening cutscene, why the hell does this dialogue right here take place?
Got it. And don't worry, I'll rescue you.
I know.
Oh really, Elise? You only just met him, not even a few minutes ago, and he says he'll rescue you, and you say, I know. You don't even know this guy. Like, if this had happened, like, halfway through the game, the dialogue would have made sense. But, immediately? That doesn't make any sense. So, after that, we get treated to the overworld, the world map, which, similar to that in Sonic Adventure, except it serves absolutely no purpose but to waste your godforsaken time.
Oh, we can't bring up the overworld without bringing up the load times.
Oh, for God's sake, the load
times take up 20% of the game.
That's probably being generous, considering that it's especially prominent in the world map more than anywhere else. And honestly, it's not that the load screens are too long. It's that they're relatively long and they're really frequent. Really frequent. I'll give you an example. Anytime you go into any mission that isn't an official level in the main story, it's a side mission, usually a town mission, where you talk to a person, they ask you to do something, and you accept. When you accept, a load screen happens. Okay, it has to load the mission. No, it's not loading the mission. You get treated to a 15 goddamn second load screen, excuse me, and then the person tells you exactly what you'll be doing. Then another 15-second load screen happens, then you actually do the mission. Then another load screen, they thank you, or tell you you failed, depending on what happened. Then another load screen, and then you're finally back in the main game. That's 4 different load screens for one mission that probably only took you a minute and a half to complete. What the hell?
It's not like the missions are important, really. Most of them just deal with you fighting enemies or doing some timed race.
The only time missions are relevant to the plot, and that's rare, is when it's a 4-story mission. And it's usually just kill all the enemies, or something dumb like that. It's almost always something stupid and pointless, and you just want to get on with the rest of the game. So getting back to the first part, as Sonic, the controls are Sonic Heroes-y, and that's not a good thing. I think the worst part is that his controls are too loose. There's no real speed-up time whenever you're moving forward. It's press up and you're, Mach speed in like 5 seconds. You just feel slippery the whole time.
It doesn't help that you move pretty slow through the game.
Yeah, even when you get up to your max speed, you're not even going that fast. It just doesn't feel like you're playing a Sonic game. It feels like you're playing a mediocre platformer. So in the opening, as you're walking around trying to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do, and good luck, by the way, you realize the first thing you have to do is actually do a town mission. Just for the sake of purchasing this gem that lets you use Lightspeed Dash, because I guess Sonic doesn't hold on to these things that let him do these abilities. But that would make too much sense, I guess. Just so you can get to the first level. Then you get to the first level, which is Wave Ocean. At first, it seems alright, but after a while, you're going to start to notice it just feels slow-paced. The action is kind of bland, and there's really not much to it. The level looks nice enough, but this level will be addressed later on. As you play through, you're going to run into obstacles, run into enemies, and you're going to notice that sometimes the animation looks poor. For example, when Sonic's on the Orca Whale, I don't know why they chose to repeat this animation like an infinite number of times. It just seems awkward. And then the level randomly switches over to Tails. And then you realize, oh, they really didn't take the time to make any of the supporting cast of this whole game play well in any way, shape, or form. Tails' controls are even worse than Sonic's. He's even slower, for reasons I still don't understand, and his only attack is using this dummy ring bomb. I don't understand this weapon. I don't know why you would ever build a bomb that releases dummy rings. But I'll tell you the only thing they're good for, causing the game to slow the fuck down, because this game lags all the time. I don't know what they were thinking with this weapon, but it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it's just a hindrance. Plus, his attack is always delayed. You don't hit the attack button and he throws it immediately. Oh no, you have to wait a second and a half for him to finally throw the bomb, which can mess you up if you're not prepared for it. After you finally shut the gate and somehow seal the Orca Whale in, Sonic gets flung over into what appears to be the sea, which I guess would involve him drowning since he can't swim. But no, he lands on the beach somewhere. And then we reach the Mach stages.
You're gonna hate the Mach stages. A lot.
When you get to these stages, you're going to slowly start to realize that they suddenly made already questionable controls even worse. Sonic is off at Mach speed, which makes sense considering what the stages are called, but the fact remains that control is limited. He can't turn on a dime, he can't move side to side quick enough to respond to things, and he can't attack enemies. And heaven and hell forbid that you have to fucking jump in this fucking level. Because whenever Sonic jumps, there is literally no way to control him. He will be going straight forward, and you can't move left or right when you're in the air, when you're jumping in the mock stages. This will get you killed. Because 9 times out of 10, when I die in a mock stage, this is why. I jumped at a bad angle, and he goes hurtling off the side. Sometimes you can even end up in a spot where you can't move over quick enough to get on the path you need to be going. And it happens a lot in this very first one. Alright, so once you finally beat the mock stage, you realize, oh, the egg carrier got away, and whatever, and you have to go after it from a different direction in a different way.
Because
and
it's not like Tails can fly.
Yeah,
or he has a plane.
Yeah, that wouldn't be something to mention. Anyway, so they decided to go back to town, which seems to be the opposite direction of where you think they should be going. But we're not going to talk about that. What we are going to talk about is the next level, which happens to be my least goddamn favorite level of this whole fucking game. And what the hell is with this fucking desert level? Okay? Why is every single piece of sand, why is the whole desert quicksand? Okay. Before this, what happened was, you got to his base, and you rescued Elise, and fought a dog, which we'll talk about later. And then you go to this fucking sand level, and suddenly you realize you can't walk on sand. You sink. Not even in a very well animated way, you basically phase through the ground whenever you step on sand. To get past it, you have to combine yours and Elisa's powers into some shield that makes you be able to walk on sand, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to begin with. But that's assuming you could get past the fact that this whole desert, apparently, is nothing but one big giant pit of quicksand. Don't tell me. Do not sit there and tell me that makes any sense in any way. I don't even want to consider it an obstacle. It's fucking stupid. In fact, another problem with this level is inconsistency. Oh, look, there's some sand over here. I guess I shouldn't step on it. Well, oh, look, I guess I can step. Oh, now I fell. Now I fall through the sand. Okay, alright, fine. You know what? Fuck you, level. Fuck you and all that you are. I hate this.
And I don't know if you're quickly realizing this, but the enemy design in this game is awful. These robots don't even look like anything Eggman has ever created. They look more like gun robots.
In fact, some of them look exactly like gun robots. You can tell they ripped the designs completely off from past games. You could consider that a reference of sorts, but with Eggman making robots that gun use, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Okay, now that I'm done bitching about that sand level, let's go back and talk about this fucking dog. This is only one of the bosses in this game, and you know what? Fuck this thing. This doesn't... It's not a badly designed boss. It's interesting, it's different, it looks good, but you know what? It's this really stupid fight. Okay, well first, you can't attack him directly. And the first thing you do is you gotta make him get tired. And, by the way, why does a robot dog get tired? But anyway, you gotta make him get tired, and then you gotta rail slide up his tail and onto his head, which has a giant horn sticking out of it, conveniently, and you ram him into a wall. Once that's done, Sonic will shout, "Alright! Now I can see your face! Now it's my turn!" And then you think, oh, maybe I can attack him directly. No! Then you do the same thing you just did over again, and since that's the case, why have that piece of dialogue at all? That's fucking stupid and misleading. There's no reason for it to be there. If you just do the same thing over again, why does he mention that his armor's broken? There's no reason to do that. It just confuses the player.
I know this is just nitpicking, but the thing is called the Egg Cerberus. And don't Cerberus have 3 heads?
Technically, I don't see that as a huge deal. I've seen worse things. It's a name. Bad name to go with a bad boss fight. There you go. Anyway, alright, so after the sand level, then you're treated to another cutscene where Tails basically says, you take the princess and I'll draw them away. Which seems like suicide. But Sonic is like, oh, alright buddy, you go ahead. Okay. And then he takes Elise and somehow, out of the desert, they wind up in a very grassy field. And then they start talking, and romantic shit happens, and this is the most awkward romance I've ever seen in my life. You know what, I'm not even gonna bitch about The fact that Elise is, falling for a hedgehog and the whole bestiality thing. Everyone's made that accusation. Everyone goes down that path. You know what really bothers me? I don't care, if Elise happened to be a hedgehog or if Sonic was a human. Even if that was the case, this romance is so... It happens so unrealistically fast. I already talked about the first scene where suddenly she's like, "Oh, I know you'll rescue me." You just met him. And now he's rescued you again. That's great. But why are you suddenly falling for this guy so quickly? That doesn't make that, like, from a realistic romantic perspective, that doesn't happen. It doesn't make any sense. This whole thing, it just comes off as awkward.
Be honest with yourself, Sega. You were writing for a Final Fantasy game.
Dude, even Final Fantasy games tend to have a build-up when it comes to a romance. Alright, so immediately after that really, really, really strange cutscene, we get treated to them being back in the town and everything's all cool, and then Silver shows up, the new character in the game.
His psychic powers include emitting sound effects from 1940 science fiction movies.
I've been looking for you.
Okay, you know what? This character really, truly, admittedly had potential, but god damn it, they fucked it up. They really, really just fucked it up. We're gonna talk about Silver's gameplay later, but there's so much they could have done with the character that they just didn't. And his personality doesn't help. But first I want to talk about this fucking mini-boss fight, and I call it a mini-boss fight because it really isn't a true boss. But, it's Sonic versus Silver, and you can't get close to him. As soon as you do, it's no use, and he throws you backward. And that happens every time. The only way to attack him is to wait for him to try to do another attack by throwing a chair or something at you, and then hit, and then immediately run away, and then repeat. If you try to get close to him any other time, even from the air, he will throw you. And the dude can fucking pin you up against walls, because it's a proximity trigger. As long as you're close enough, he will grab you, and he will throw you. Great.
From the way we're describing it, this sounds like a really easy boss fight, but the problem is, this boss fight doesn't have the boss camera that the others do. So, you can't see Silver. So, half the time, you're just kind of doing wild guessing on whether or not you should attack him or not.
Okay, so long story short, in the distraction, Elise gets kidnapped again, and by the way, this is going to happen at least 3 times, just to warn you, because, for some reason, Eggman can't keep her from getting taken back, and Sonic can't keep her from being kidnapped again. It's just back and forth tug of war with this fucking princess. I don't understand. But anyway, so the next part is that Sonic has to go to a different part of the city, which involves another load screen, which is great, by the way. And then you have to go and get this. You meet Knuckles in a warehouse district. After fighting a bunch of enemies for no reason, you meet Knuckles. Now, Knuckles says he saw Eggman outside the city, and he has a message for him. And he gives you this card with a little hologram.
Wait a minute. Don't you have a fucking emerald to be guarding?
Probably should be keeping track of that. This actually does raise another question, though. Why would Knuckles give Sonic anything delivered by Eggman? That could be like a bomb. Like, in fact, why not just make it a bomb? Why make it a message at all? Why not just give Knuckles a little thing of C4 and be like, hey, here, this is Sonic. And apparently Knuckles, being Knuckles, just, hand Sonic this shit. And there you go. Great. That's fucking wonderful. Okay, Knuckles, you know, wonderful. So Knuckles is here. I don't know why. And you know what? What's great is that this is the only bit in the story where Knuckles does anything. Literally. I mean, you play as him occasionally, which we'll talk about. But other than this one scene where he gives you this message, he contributes absolutely nothing to the fucking story. Nothing. Nothing.
He's pretty cocky.
It's most definitely a trap.
Well, no shit, Tails. The guy who's trying to destroy the world countless times isn't gonna keep his end of the deal.
So the next level you get to is called the White Acropolis. This starts out with Sonic on a snowboard.
This snowboarding gameplay only shows up twice through the game. But they are the best way to demonstrate how wrong and broken these controls are. Slowing down is a pain in the ass. You hold down on the control stick to slow down. Simple enough, right? Well, there's no slowing down in these segments. When you hold down on that stick, you stop. Actually, if you don't touch the stick at all, you stop. You just fucking stop. Remember that time when you tried to slow down while snowboarding, and instead of losing momentum, you just went to a complete halt? Or how about that time when you just didn't want to snowboard anymore, so you just thought something in your mind, oh, I don't want to do this shit anymore, you just stopped? No? That's right, because physics don't fucking work like that!
It doesn't help that when you do have any momentum, the turning is fucking terrible. You can only use a certain part of the joystick to turn in any way. And it just feels... You have to really play the snowboarding segments to really understand what the problem is. Turning is a pain, you move at a constant speed, and you stop by just stopping dead. And then, there's one part of this particular snowboarding stage that pissed me right the fuck off. There's a part where the camera, inexplicably, decides, you know what, let's look the other way, and reverses. And you might be saying, well, that's fine, you know, just keep holding up, the controls don't change. Wrong! Which means suddenly, instead of moving forward like you were, you're going the opposite direction because Sonic turned around, because, well, actually, no, I take that back. He wouldn't turn around, because since you're hitting down, you stop immediately, because that's how these fucking controls work. Oh, by the way, the reason the camera turned around is so you can see the giant fucking snowball coming after you. So good luck the first time, realizing that's gonna fucking happen, and immediately reacting to it so you don't get fucking crushed.
Oh, and the jumping sucks too. Hold down the A button, and let go to jump. Okay. Simple enough. I'm fine with that. Only, it responds when it wants to. And if your timing isn't 100% accurate, you will fail at the jump and fall to your death. Hell, even if your timing is right, 9 times out of 10, your jump won't even register. Yeah, that's right. You're doing jumps that require you to have impeccable timing with an unresponsive jump button with a delay. Enjoy your snowboarding segments, assholes.
The rest of the level is about what you'd expect. It's a tolerable level design, but we're going to talk about the levels later. And once you get to the end, Eggman doesn't hold up his end of the deal! Although, this is the point I have to ask something very important. And I want to ask you, Eggman. At this point, we have established that you are seeking the Flames of Disaster. In order to do this and release them somehow, you have to kidnap the princess and get a Chaos Emerald. Now, that's about all you've said. So, I really want to know exactly, like, in detail, what is your plan?
Who knows where they'll end up? It could be in the distant past or far future. But my machine still requires some fine-tuning. In fact, what my machine needs in order to be complete is your power.
My power?
Yes, I can finally complete my plans, now that I have the Chaos Emeralds and you, the Princess of Soliana. That's all I need to revive the Flames of Disaster. And with its power, I will be able to control everything and rule...
So by releasing something called the Flames of Disaster, which, by the way, really sounds like something you really shouldn't wake up, you're going to control time. Which, considering this is the scene where you send everyone in Sonic's party to the future, you seem to be able to do that. So, what is your plan again? Alright, so Sonic and company inexplicably land in the future, an estimated 200 years. Not that you would know that from this storyline, you do find that in the other ones. And somehow wind up in the same time period that Shadow and Rouge were teleported to in Shadow's story, which we'll talk about later. Now, considering that Eggman basically says that he has no idea where the hell Sonic and his friends were teleported to, he just wanted to make sure his machine actually worked, that seems like the fucking time lottery right there. What are the odds that of all the places to go, infinitely in the past and infinitely in the future, Sonic and his friends would somehow manage to land in the exact time frame where Shadow and Rouge ended up? Not just where they ended up in time, but also where they ended up in location.
Oh, convenience like this only works in fantasy games.
Alright, so after this we get a talk where basically Shadow and Sonic decide they have to work together. And then this line of dialogue happens.
To our own time. You need a space-time rift, but this requires a lot of energy. I see. You mean using your chaos control will... Yes, but that alone is insufficient. Okay, Shadow. It looks like we need to work together.
Okay, what did they just establish at all? Shadow never said chaos control. Sonic just assumed, oh, so you're going to use the chaos control. And then Shadow's like, oh, that's not enough. And then Sonic's like, oh, well then we need to work together. To do what? You never explained. You never explained. How do you know? There's no... What is going through your brains? Alright, so now we're in fucking Crisis City, and Jesus fucking Christ. I don't like this level.
Well, on the flip side, I actually thought this was probably the only genuine fun I got out of this game. To be perfectly honest, this level was actually pretty fun.
Alright, so much like White Acropolis, somehow you start out on the fucking board, only you're skating through streets instead of snow. And the board controls the same. That is like crap. So that's not fun. Then you get to the actual meter level where you're just, riding on rails and killing enemies, which would be fun, if not for one key thing. You remember in, like, SA2, where whenever you switch rails, there was a little animation, and Sonic and company could jump in between rails, and they also did it in Heroes, as a matter of fact. In this game, there's no animation. When you jump off a rail, you jump off a rail. The only way to change rails is to jump and then homing attack the other rail, which, mind you, it's possible for Sonic to target an enemy nearby or the rail he was just on. It's just unnecessary. What was wrong with doing what you did before? Just have a little animation to change rails. You did it once. Why not do it again? Oh, and then you'll get to the mock stage of this level, which involves cars flying at you from a apparently very pissed off fire tornado. Don't ask me. This is probably the one mock stage where you're gonna fall off the sides more often than not, because unless you're jumping basically straight on, you will fall off the sides of the street. And I know because in recording this footage, it happened to me like 15 goddamn times. It was really annoying.
And the worst part about this mock speed stage is, this is the best one. This really is the best mock speed stage. What's the worst? Oh, we'll get to that in a minute.
So then you get to the volcano level, which honestly has probably some of the best level music in the whole game, and has a really cool level design overall.